saw in sort of spurts, from time to time. And, Paulie, you were his biggest detractor. So, I'd like to see him come back and, sort of, show you up a bit. But, it's definitely going to be an exciting time. And look, this team has got nothing to lose. They're playing with house money. Young team, they were on the outside looking in. They've been given this second chance to show what they're about. And, like I said, I mean, they're a team that is a scary team, young team, house money, nothing to lose. Ahead of schedule as far as the rebuild. These are the teams that can make a run, and like we started with the conversation, the goaltending. I think you have to go with Shosturkin. Because look,
Come on.
we are. Oh, I know Georgiev, whatever. Is he even on the team anymore? Goodness.
Oh man, what about Hank? You got to put Hank
Keep
in.
No.
He's
I'm
got a
sorry.
great record
I'm sorry.
against the
No, you
Canes.
don't. No. Hank can watch. He can mentor. He could talk to Shestyorkin.
Oh, here we
This
go,
is this
folks.
is how I prepared. And
KB is kicking the goaltending
look,
controversy right into full gear.
if the Rangers go down, 0-2, and then that, third game, and they got to look for something, sure, put him in there. Maybe his last game as a Ranger before they buy
Oh,
him out.
the Hank hate
And
you're gonna get on Twitter tomorrow. Oh my goodness. The kid, buddy.
so to me, it's not even a decision. I don't even think there's a debate. There's not a nothing. It's just Yorkin. Georgiev can sit up in the press box
Tell
and
Hank to
eat all
stay
the
home. Tell him
eat
to
all
stay
the
in Sweden. Tell him not
he
even to
can
bother.
Georgiev can sit up in the press box with his mask on and eat a hot dog through his mask and socially
Shesty's
distance from
got
the
this,
rest of
huh?
the healthy scratches
Unbelievable.
and move on from there.
Unbelievable. No
Actually, you
love.
know what? One negative actually is that Brendan Lemieux is still suspended. By the way, I wonder how they're going to deal with that. He was a guy who was still suspended, if
I
you remember.
Yeah, well, I think we'll be all right. I'm sure.
I'm just saying. No, look. I'm a big Brendan Lee. Brendan Lemieux is going to have more of an impact here than Lundqvist or
Ooh.
Georgiev.
Ooh. Easy, cowboy. That will be interesting to see what happens. But, I'm just saying, I don't know. But this is great to talk about again.
Yeah,
Now
but
with the
actually,
Rangers, would you
with just
have Brendan in the
go ahead.
lineup?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Fourth line. I got to remember who's on this team. Actually, I'm trying to think of fourth. I'm like, who the hell's on this team? I
Well,
mean,
the
if you had a
question is,
fourth line of Howden, McKegg, and Lemieux, I'm in all day long. That's a good fourth line. That was the fourth line I think that was going well at the end of the year. So to me, I think Lemieux, as long as he's on the fourth line, I know sometimes Quinn gets a little crazy and he'll want to play him on a line with like Panarin for some reason. But yeah, I think Lemieux. Look, he has that. He plays a game that's very, conducive to the playoffs, where it's a little bit more rugged. It's a little less, ice surface to move around in. So, he's a guy, I think they will miss. And I don't know, obviously they'll have to address it. Maybe they'll shorten it or maybe, their regular season games. So does it count as, are these considered the playing games postseason games? Like how they'll have to address it, like like a number of other things. So,
maybe
but the one
maybe
thing that does
Bettman pardons everybody, gives everybody a
that'd be
clean
nice.
slate.
That'd be nice. The one thing that does scare me is I just see way too many like Ranger fans excited about playing Carolina in the first round. Like I always feel like that's a bad thing. Like uh, a little too much confidence, I think, from fans right now. Like, oh my god, we're gonna roll this team, and their goaltending isn't that great with Mrazek and Reimer, and they're right. Hey, look, Mrazek was good. He was real good in Detroit and can get hot. It's any goal he can, but so I'm not, saying, oh, this is an easy win and we're on to the first round for the Rangers. So, it's a long way to go here, before I see way too many sort of Ranger fans celebrating that we're playing Carolina in the first round. So I caution Ranger fans there.
I would too. I mean, this is a clean slate for everybody. I mean, everybody coming in. I mean, how do you put yourself in Quinn's shoes right now, managing, all these coaches now in terms of, you think about where they were when this thing wrapped up, and then, like I said, everybody, basically just not seeing each other for now it's going to be 4 months almost, and everybody basically on their own. That's something that I haven't seen. I'd love to find out what's going on in the back end in terms of behind the scenes, how the organizations have actually managed this, because, the teams, it's money. These are contracts. These are responsibilities. These are, even, when the seasons end, off ice training or, whatever they do in between, you got to be careful. Rangers goalies have to be careful driving, all that stuff we know. So you can only imagine. I'd be curious to know how these guys have been, keeping in touch with everybody. So that kind of brings me back to Quinn, and if they get that first, the squad on the ice. I mean, we don't even know yet. I mean, that's the insanity of this, Kevin. Is just he might not even be able to have the whole team. I mean, I guess they're going to have to get to that point, right? Because you can't have 2 full NHL teams on a rink, full benches, full staff, with the linesmen. They can't do any of that unless everybody's cleared and tested and everything else. So just to get to that stage is going to be something else. But anyway, what's your take of Coach Quinn's first practice when he gets these guys back?
He's gonna have to reintroduce himself to everybody. Yeah, no, it's gonna be interesting. You hope that they've been keeping in touch, by Zoom, like we all have, and having team meetings online. And now, look, I think he'll probably have, a similar message to what we're saying. Look, it's just great to be back. Let's enjoy this. We're playing with house money. This is postseason experience. We weren't sure we were gonna have. So let's go and have fun with this thing and see how far it takes us. And I'm just actually curious in how this will change, a coach's strategy in the postseason, because obviously, under normal circumstances, you're just finishing a grueling 82 game season. You get a couple of days off and you go right into the first round. So now you've had months off for players to really rest and heal from injuries and things like that. When you normally go into the playoffs, you have to rely on all 4 lines and all 4 players. All 16 players. 12 players. Goodness, my math is off. Goodness. Okay. You could tell my wife has helped been doing the math homework for the kids. I can't even add. So you have to lean on all 4 lines, but now, you wonder if you lean more on your star players. Does Quinn just basically play Panarin 60 minutes a night, and his top 2 lines in that first round, because these guys are ready to go. They're fresh. I just talked about the 4th line that they even barely play. It's almost like Tortorella playoff hockey, where you just lean on your top guys and barely play the rest, at least initially, in the first 2 rounds, where you're just like, all right, Panarin and Zibanejad, and Kreider, take us home, and I wonder if it does change things up for coaches in that respect, where they lean a little bit more on their top 2 lines than they would. I mean, normally, the playoffs make heroes out of 4th line guys, like a guy like, Dominic Moore, is like a hero to Ranger fans over the years for the huge goals that he has. Now, it's going to be more of the top 2 lines, and maybe they're getting a little more time than they normally would in the playoffs. I'm interested to see if it does change up some coaching strategies there.
Well, you got some phenomenal coaches here that are ahead of, running these squads, and whoever takes it more serious than the rest of these guys is, that'll be the thing. Cool and calm, damn serious. A lot of these coaches, like a guy like Torts, is getting a huge second chance because his team was so banged up. The Rangers had chemistry going into this at the end. They've got to get this back. And you can throw all these different scenarios out there, but I'm curious to know, Kevin, as we're talking about this, and we're talking about matchups and the coaching and who they're going to play and everything. The thing that I think is going to be just a trip, and definitely not so much us watching, but because we've all played in beer leagues, and we talked about in the last couple of shows, deck hockey leagues, and you play games, and there's nobody in the stands. So there's no atmosphere. That, to me, is going to be very interesting to watch, with hockey being such a passionate game. Fans can definitely impact the way a game goes, how a player plays, special teams, everything. Just the utter excitement of the last few minutes of a period or a game, the emotions of a breakaway or a heavy check or a great save, and to think that that's not going to be there. So that's going to be very interesting, not only for us as fans to watch that. I haven't watched any of those Korean baseball games yet. Nobody in the stands, and I hear they're floating like a speaker in the stands around with fake crowd noise or whatever. But what's your take on that? I mean, because I just, listen to you talk, and I'm sitting here I'm thinking about some of the old beer league games that I played in, and it was just the guys. And like I said, we were talking about deck hockey there a couple episodes ago, and, there's nobody in there. But we used to play, right? We obviously played. We played hard, and we got into it, and we loved it, and that's what we did. We weren't playing in front of, 15,000 people. I'm curious to know what's your take on how that might impact any of these games.
Yeah, no, actually, I think it will. I think that's a great point. I think that there are players that thrive under that pressure, being in that environment where the crowd is, at a fever pitch. You had guys like Brassard, who stepped up in the playoffs and I think fed off the crowd. Obviously, Mark Messier. And I think that there are some players that get a little tight in those situations where now, that they may not have that same tightness because they don't have the crowd going crazy. They don't feel that emotion in the stadium. And, and it could negatively impact a person like a Brassard who does feed off the crowd and does need that crowd. And then they have a hard time, getting that emotional build up and pick up and can use that crowd to get motivated. And others it'll be a positive for them because they don't have that sort of fear that some players have, and that is a thing. I mean, these guys are all professionals, but they're human too, and some of them, they sort of tighten up in that moment, and that may not happen now. So I think it will have a major impact, not only on teams and how they're playing, but just the individual players. Those who feed off the crowd and those who have issues with the crowd, and the pressure of the crowd. It may not be there for some of those players, and they'll use it to their advantage. So huge. I think not having a crowd there will have a major impact on what happens. It going forward in these playoffs.
And it could also, and it will definitely have a major impact, or it'll be the referees, the officials are going to be relieved. But that's just a huge part of the game too, man. I mean, obviously in the playoffs, we're all used to it. The whistles goes in the pockets in the third period and the overtimes and everything. But that's just going to be interesting too to see how the games are called. I mean, granted, I hope we all get there. I really do. I hope we're all watching this and we're going to have shows and we're going to be talking about going through this the first time together as fans. And again, health, safety, number one priority. And I know it's not going to be done. It's not going to be done if it isn't done that way. So I think we can freely talk about this and not be selfish that, there's nothing wrong with getting excited about it. And I hope this happens because that just means we're all going forward, together. Sports and just regular daily life. That means we're going forward and we're going to get out of this freaking, pain in the ass pandemic that we've been going through. And again, full respect, everybody's been touched by it in different ways. You know what I'm saying? I've been lucky, and I know you've been lucky. A lot of fans and people have been lucky too. But ultimately, man, this is going to be. I hope we get there, and I hope we have a lot of fun watching this thing.
Do you think it'll get to a point in conference finals or Stanley Cup finals where they'll bring fans in? Do you think it'll get to that point if this virus really goes? It won't go away until there's a vaccine. But Do you think there will be a point where there will be a live audience, a crowd?
Look,